Exploding pagers, exploding walkie-talkies. It sounds like something out of a spy thriller, right? But this is the reality we're facing.
Yeah, it's a chilling thought, isn't it? I mean, we're
Yeah.
so used to hearing about bombs and missiles.
Weapons of conventional warfare.
Exactly. But these attacks in Lebanon, they hit differently. They take everyday objects, things we all use without a second thought.
And they turn them into weapons of terror.
Absolutely. Think about it. How unsettling would it be to worry that something as ordinary as a pager could be a deadly weapon?
It's like this constant underlying anxiety, and that's precisely the point, isn't it? To instill fear, to make people question the safety of the everyday.
Without a doubt. It's about psychological warfare as much as anything else. But let's back up a bit for a second, for those who haven't been following this story closely.
Right, to give a little context.
Exactly. So we're talking about two separate but clearly connected attacks in Lebanon targeting members of Hezbollah.
On Tuesday.
Right. Tuesday was these exploding pagers, multiple incidents reported across the country,
Leaving 12 dead.
including children.
Just a day later.
Walkie-talkies were used in another attack, even more devastating.
At least 20 killed.
Over 450 injured in that one.
And it seems like the attackers are deliberately going after Hezbollah's communication methods, almost like they're trying to cut them off.
It's a direct assault on their ability to operate, to communicate. You've got to wonder.
If this is just the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is this a prelude to something larger? It's certainly a possibility we can't ignore.
And it plays into the psychological impact too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, just imagine the fear and uncertainty this creates.
You can't even trust the most mundane objects anymore.
It's like this quote I read from a Lebanese journalist, Nabi Boulos. He said, "There really is a fear of the normal items you have at home."
It's chilling. And it makes you wonder.
Who's behind it? And where did these devices even come from?
Because that's a whole other layer to the story. So we've got these exploding pagers, a truly bizarre weapon.
Yeah, you don't hear about that every day.
And it begs the question, where did they even come from? Who's making exploding pagers?
Right. It's not like your typical arms trade, easily traceable.
Well, that's where things get even weirder. The investigation initially pointed to a company called Gold Apollo, based in Taiwan.
Gold Apollo.
Yeah. They make those little restaurant buzzers.
You know, the ones they give you when you're waiting for a table?
Exactly. Not exactly known for their military hardware.
So what's the connection? How'd they fit into this?
Well, that's just it. Gold Apollo says they're not involved. They deny making these exploding pagers.
But their logo was on the devices, right?
And that's what makes it so strange. They acknowledge that's their pager model, but they claim it was manufactured under license by another company.
A ghost company, perhaps?
Yeah.
Is that what we're dealing with here?
That's what it feels like. This
Wow.
supposed company, BAC Consulting, supposedly based in Hungary. Yeah, Hungary. CNN actually sent a team to Budapest to track them down.
Okay, so what did they find?
A whole lot of nothing. An office that seemed completely empty.
No sign of this BAC Consulting.
Nope. A receptionist in the building had never even heard of them. And even weirder, the woman who lives in the apartment above the office said she rarely saw anyone coming or going.
So it's like this company exists solely on paper.
It's a complete mystery. And to make matters even murkier, the Hungarian government denies any involvement too. They're supposedly launching their own investigation, but so far, nothing.
It's a dead end.
For now, at least.
Yeah.
But it raises so many questions. We've got this mysterious company, no clear trail of manufacturing, and on top of all that...
The pagers themselves are ancient.
Exactly. I mean, who even uses pagers anymore? The model they found, it was discontinued years ago. Not sold in Taiwan, not sold in the U.S.
So why would Hezbollah be using these outdated devices? It doesn't make sense.
Well, it's actually a tactic they've been using for a while now.
Really?
Yeah. Hezbollah deliberately uses low-tech communication to avoid sophisticated surveillance. They figured it's harder to track.
So this backfired spectacularly.
In a sense, yes. Their attempt to stay under the radar by using outdated tech actually made them more vulnerable.
Because someone figured out how to exploit it. And that brings us back to the bigger picture.
It's like something out of a spy movie, right? I mean, we've got these mysterious exploding devices, a ghost company in Hungary. But let's be real for a second.
Get to the heart of it.
Exactly. This wasn't some random act of violence. All signs point to Israel being behind these attacks.
It's the open secret, isn't it? They haven't outright admitted it, but...
Their statements have been pretty telling.
To say the least, you've got Defense Minister Yoav Gallant saying, and I quote, "We are at the beginning of a new era in this war."
Which sounds a lot like...
A declaration. A clear message, not just to Hezbollah, but to the entire region.
But they're not playing around.
Exactly. This is about demonstrating capability and resolve. But it also begs the question, why now? Why these attacks? Why this method?
What's the strategy here?
Well, one theory is that Israel uncovered this plot by Hezbollah and decided to neutralize it in the most disruptive way possible.
By turning their own weapons against them.
Precisely. Exploiting their reliance on low-tech communication, turning it into their weakness. But there's another dimension to this too, something that often gets overlooked.
Which is?
Domestic politics. Public opinion matters. And in Israel, there's been this growing pressure to take decisive action against Hezbollah.
So these attacks are also a way to
Project strength.
Right.
Reassure the Israeli public that the government is taking action, protecting their security.
It's a complex situation, to say the least. And then you've got the international reactions to consider. Hezbollah vowing retribution, Iran condemning the attacks.
The U.S. trying to walk this tightrope between supporting Israel and urging restraint.
It's a familiar dance, isn't it? But this time it feels like the stakes are even higher.
Because this isn't just about pagers and walkie-talkies. This is about a fundamental shift in the nature of conflict.
The new era of warfare.
Exactly, where technology and communication become both the targets and the weapons. It makes you wonder, what does this mean for the future?
It's a question we all need to be asking ourselves. Because this new era, it's not some distant threat. It's here. It's happening right now. And as we've seen, it can turn the most ordinary objects into instruments of terror. That's something to think about the next time you pick up your phone or use any everyday device.
Because in this new era of conflict, the line between the mundane and the deadly is becoming increasingly blurred.